My mother-in-law chose my husband's ex-pregnancy over me, but that night, I turned the whole table around. Picture this. You're sitting at Thanksgiving dinner, 12 weeks pregnant with your first child, when your husband's ex-girlfriend announces she's pregnant with your husband's baby. And your mother-in-law? She immediately takes the ex's side. That actually happened to me. If you're new here, please hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications because you do not want to miss stories like this. This is my story and I'm warning you right now, it gets dark, it gets messy, and it gets absolutely wild. So grab your snacks, settle in, because this is going to be a ride. Let me take you back to where this nightmare really began. When I married Marcus 3 years ago, I knew about Victoria. She was his college girlfriend. They dated for a couple of years before breaking up about 5 years before Marcus and I even met. Normal ex-girlfriend situation, right? Wrong. See, what I didn't know was that Patricia, that's my mother-in-law, had basically adopted Victoria during their relationship. We're not talking about just being friendly. I'm talking Patricia made Victoria her emergency contact at the doctor's office. Victoria had a key to their house. She was in family photos on the mantle right next to actual family members. And here's the kicker. They broke up 5 years before I came into the picture, but Patricia never let go. Our first lunch together, just Patricia and me, should have been my warning sign. She spent the entire meal comparing me to Victoria. Oh, Victoria is taller than you. Victoria makes the most amazing pot roast, just like mine. Victoria really understands my sense of humor. I remember sitting there, forcing a smile, thinking she just needed time to adjust to her son having a new partner. I was so naive. Then, about 3 months into Marcus and me dating, Victoria showed up at Sunday dinner. Unannounced. Patricia had invited her without telling anyone. I'll never forget watching Victoria hug Marcus while I stood there holding a bowl of salad like an idiot. Patricia acted like this was completely normal. I thought everyone should catch up, she said cheerfully, as if it wasn't completely bizarre to invite your son's ex-girlfriend to dinner with his current girlfriend. The whole meal was torture. Victoria and Marcus reminiscing about inside jokes, trips they'd taken together. Patricia was literally glowing, like she was watching her favorite movie. And me? I was just the unwanted third wheel in my own relationship. And this became a pattern, you guys. Victoria started showing up to holidays, birthdays, random Sunday dinners. She'd waltz into the kitchen and tell me to go relax while she helped Patricia cook. She sat in Patricia's regular seat at the table. She knew where everything was in that house better than I did. Marcus was uncomfortable, I could see it, but he never said anything to his mother. And Patricia? She'd just wave off any weak protests like they were nothing. I kept thinking it would stop. When we got engaged, surely that would be the line, right? Nope. Patricia and Victoria basically co-hosted our engagement party together. I have a video of Victoria giving a speech where she said, "I'm so happy Marcus found someone, even though no one will ever know him like I do." She said that at our engagement party. And Patricia filmed it, smiling the whole time. At our wedding, Patricia tried to seat Victoria at the family table. Marcus had to physically stop her. Victoria came as Patricia's plus one, wore a red dress that Patricia helped her pick out, and cried during our vows. You can hear it on the ceremony video. So yeah, by the time Thanksgiving rolled around last year, I'd been dealing with this for 3 years. 3 years of being treated like a placeholder. 3 years of watching my mother-in-law prioritize my husband's ex over me. But Thanksgiving? That's when everything exploded. I spent 2 full days preparing for Thanksgiving. Cooking everything from scratch, trying so hard to impress Patricia, to finally get her to see me as part of the family. Victoria showed up wearing an apron. Not just any apron, Patricia's special apron that Victoria had given her years ago. She immediately went into the kitchen and started taking over. Then Patricia, right in front of me, suggested we use Victoria's famous stuffing instead of mine. She literally took my dish and put it in the garage refrigerator for leftovers. I cried in the bathroom. When Marcus found me, you know what he said? "You're overreacting. It's just stuffing." That's when something in me snapped. I was done being polite. We sat down for dinner, And Patricia started in on her usual Victoria worship. Victoria's marketing career was going so well. Victoria just bought a house nearby. Victoria was thinking about freezing her eggs since she hadn't found anyone. Big pointed look at Marcus. Then Victoria announced she was planning a trip to Italy. She and Marcus had always talked about going there together when they were dating, she said. Never got around to it. Maybe Nathan could finally do it, as friends, of course. And Patricia? She immediately suggested making it a family trip. All of us. Together. To Italy. That was it. I stood up. I thanked Patricia for finally being honest that she'd never consider me family. I told her that after 3 years of marriage, I was still second place to Victoria in her eyes. Then I turned to Victoria. I looked her right in the eye and said it was sad that she was still hanging around her ex-boyfriend's family, pretending she belonged there. That she needed to find her own boyfriend and her own boyfriend's mother to latch onto. Victoria started crying. Patricia started screaming at me about disrespect. But I wasn't done. I told Patricia she could keep choosing Victoria over me if she wanted. But she'd be choosing her over her grandchildren too, because I was 12 weeks pregnant. And if Victoria remained more important than her son's wife, Patricia would never meet that grandchild. The room went dead silent. Marcus stood up and said we were leaving. Patricia was yelling that we had to stay. It was Thanksgiving, family doesn't just leave. And Marcus, God bless him, finally found his spine. He said, Thanksgiving is about family, but nobody in this house treats my wife like family. We're done. We left. That night, Patricia called Marcus 43 times. 43. Victoria sent him texts saying I'd ruined everything, and that their friendship was special. The next morning, Marcus blocked Victoria's number. He called his mother and gave her an ultimatum, Victoria or us. No compromise. She chose Victoria. That was 3 weeks ago. Now, if you're thinking that's where this story ends, oh honey, you have no idea. Because what came next was so much worse, and so much more twisted, than I ever could have imagined. 3 weeks of silence. No calls from Patricia. No texts. It was almost peaceful. Marcus was stressed but also seemed lighter somehow, not constantly managing his mother's emotions. Then his father called. Richard, Marcus's dad, called asking for a family meeting. When Marcus asked why, his dad said, Victoria is pregnant. With Marcus's baby. I swear, the room started spinning. My hands were shaking so badly I almost dropped my phone. Marcus went completely white, like someone had drained all the blood from his body. He was making this weird choking sound, shaking his head, not able to form words. I lost it. I was screaming at him through tears. Did you sleep with her? Did you cheat on me while I'm pregnant with your child? Marcus was talking so fast he was stuttering. He swore he hadn't touched Victoria in 5 years, not since they broke up before we even met. He'd blocked her number 3 weeks ago after Thanksgiving. He hadn't been alone with her once. But I could see the doubt in his own eyes. He was wondering if somehow this could be true, if maybe his mother and Victoria had planned something. He showed me his phone with shaking hands. Victoria's contact was blocked. He went through every text, every call log from the past year. Nothing. He pulled up his location history. Work, home, the gym, grocery store. Normal life stuff. We spent 2 hours going through everything. His calendar, credit card statements, bank transactions. Looking for any gap in time, any unexplained charge, anything that would show he'd been lying to me. There was nothing. No hotel rooms, no suspicious purchases, no blocks of unaccounted time. The only times he'd seen Victoria were at those horrible family dinners, the ones I'd been at too. But I couldn't just take his word for it, you know? I was 12 weeks pregnant. My mother-in-law had just chosen my husband's ex over us, and now that ex was claiming to be carrying my husband's child. I felt like I was losing my mind. I called my best friend Sarah. She and her husband James came over at midnight, both in sweatpants, looking worried. When Sarah hugged me, I almost broke down. James looked through all my notes, all of Marcus's records. He said, very calmly, we need a paternity test to confirm this pregnancy claim. We shouldn't make any decisions until we know the actual facts. He was right, but the waiting was torture. Marcus tried calling his dad back, voicemail. Then Patricia started calling. Her name lit up Marcus's phone on the coffee table. It rang and rang. He ignored it. It stopped. Started again immediately. This happened 17 times. The sound was driving me insane. Finally, Marcus answered and put it on speaker. Patricia was sobbing, talking so fast I could barely understand her. She needed us at her house right now. Victoria was devastated and Marcus needed to step up. She kept talking about family responsibility and unavoidable obligations. I grabbed Marcus's phone and told Patricia, in the strongest voice I could manage, that Marcus wasn't going anywhere until Victoria provided proof. Medical records. Paternity test. Documentation that she was actually pregnant. Patricia started screaming. She called me heartless. Said I was trying to ruin Victoria's life. That Victoria would never lie about something this important. That I'd always been jealous of Victoria and this was just me being cruel. I cut her off. I told her Victoria had been inappropriately involved with our family for years. That Patricia had enabled every boundary violation. And that I wasn't about to believe anyone without proof. Patricia was screaming so loud the phone speaker was crackling. Marcus took the phone back. His voice was quieter but firm. He told his mother he wouldn't discuss anything until Victoria provided proof she was pregnant and agreed to a paternity test. These were non-negotiable demands. Patricia started yelling that he was abandoning his child, that I'd brainwashed him. Marcus hung up. The silence after that call felt suffocating. That night, I threw up 3 times from stress. Marcus sat with me on the bathroom floor, apologizing over and over. But his voice was shaking, and I could tell he was terrified I didn't believe him. I couldn't sleep. Every time I closed my eyes, I pictured Victoria pregnant, or my daughter growing up in a broken home, or Patricia's triumphant face. The next morning, I called my sister Emma. She lives 2 states away, but we talk every week. When she answered, I barely got 2 words out before I started crying. I told her everything: Victoria's pregnancy claim, Patricia demanding a family meeting, the accusation that Marcus cheated. Emma didn't even hesitate. I'm booking a flight for this afternoon. You need family support, and I'm not trusting Marcus's story until I verify it myself. When I picked Emma up from the airport, she hugged me tight and I almost lost it again. On the drive home, she started poking holes in everything. She wanted specific dates, specific encounters, timelines. When we got home, Marcus was at the kitchen table looking exhausted. Emma questioned him like he was on a witness stand. Her paralegal training meant she knew exactly how to spot lies and inconsistencies. She asked for his location data from the past 6 months. His work schedule, business trips, any unexplained absences. Marcus answered everything without getting defensive, showing her his phone, printing out credit card statements. After an hour, Marcus agreed to give Emma everything: phone records, credit card bills, work schedule from the past year. Emma said she'd verify his timeline and cross-reference everything. She spent hours at our dining room table, comparing dates and locations. And you know what? She found nothing. No gaps. No unexplained time. No suspicious charges. Either Marcus is the most careful liar in the world, Emma said, or he's telling the truth and Victoria is lying. My friend James, who was still there helping us, said something that made us all pause. We haven't considered a third option. What if Victoria got pregnant by someone else and is claiming it's Marcus's to win back the family? The room went completely silent. None of us had thought of that. Patricia had literally chosen Victoria over her own son. Victoria might think a pregnancy, real or fake, would win both Patricia and Marcus back. That's when things started to make a terrifying kind of sense. Then Richard called. Marcus put it on speaker. His dad sounded confused this time. He said Patricia was pushing hard for this family meeting, but he'd been thinking about it all day and something felt off. Victoria had told Patricia about the pregnancy just yesterday morning. Patricia immediately made him call Marcus to demand a family meeting. But Patricia hadn't asked Victoria for any medical records or documentation. She just accepted it and started planning. Then Richard asked Marcus directly, "Is this baby yours?" Marcus said no. He hadn't been alone with Victoria in almost 5 years. There was a long pause. Then Richard said he'd been thinking the same thing. He told Patricia he needed proof before any family meetings. When Marcus hung up, we all looked at each other. The story was unraveling, but we still didn't know why. I told Richard that Victoria needed to provide proof, a dated ultrasound, medical records, signed consent for a paternity test. After I hung up, the line was quiet for what felt like forever. Finally, Richard said he thought that was reasonable and he'd tell Patricia. An hour later, Patricia called. I answered on speaker. She was screaming immediately. How dare we demand proof? How dare we call Victoria a liar? Victoria was too devastated to deal with our accusations. Marcus should be supporting her instead of protecting his jealous wife. I snapped. I told Patricia she'd been trying to destroy my marriage since the day I met Marcus. That her obsession with Victoria was sick. That if Victoria wouldn't provide proof, then she was obviously lying. And I laid it all out. Normal mothers don't keep their son's ex-girlfriend around for years after a breakup. They don't invite her to family dinners and holidays. They don't keep her as an emergency contact 5 years after the relationship ended. Marcus grabbed my phone and told his mother, for the first time since I'd known him, that he was done with her inappropriate relationship with Victoria. Despite Patricia's tears, Marcus said we wouldn't attend any family events or take any calls until Victoria provided medical proof and agreed to paternity testing. He told her she'd chosen Victoria over her own son 3 weeks ago and now she had to live with the consequences. For 2 days, nothing. Patricia didn't call or text. Marcus checked his phone constantly, anxious about the silence. On day 3, there was a knock at the door at 8 a.m. Richard was standing there, looking exhausted. He hadn't called ahead. He was wearing the same clothes from 2 days earlier, eyes bloodshot. He said he needed to talk about Patricia and Victoria. We sat in the living room, and my heart was pounding. Richard sat forward, fists clenched between his knees, staring at the floor. Then he told us, Patricia had been giving Victoria money for years. Thousands of dollars hidden from him. After the pregnancy announcement, he'd searched their bank accounts. He found suspicious withdrawals, $500 or more at a time, going back at least 3 years. At least $40,000 total. Thought I might be sick. Marcus just stared. But Richard wasn't done. He'd confronted Patricia yesterday. She admitted she'd been financially supporting Victoria because marketing jobs were tough. Patricia wanted to help her. Then Richard showed us his phone. Text messages between Patricia and Victoria. Months and months of messages. I bent over to read them, and with each message I felt sicker. Patricia had been telling Victoria everything about our marriage. Every fight Marcus and I had, every moment of tension, every private detail. Patricia had been acting as Victoria's spy while actively trying to sabotage our relationship. There were texts from before Thanksgiving where Victoria and Patricia discussed how my pregnancy would change everything. Victoria said she needed to act fast. Patricia had written, "Once the baby is born, Marcus will be tied to her forever. You don't have much time." Victoria asked what she should do. Patricia suggested making Marcus jealous, reminding him of what they had together. But then the messages got worse. Way worse. Patricia suggested Victoria get pregnant. Victoria said she couldn't do that. Patricia replied, "Desperate times call for desperate measures." I had to close my eyes. The room was spinning. Patricia had planned all of this. Richard pulled out a stack of papers from his jacket. More messages. Patricia had orchestrated this entire disaster to break up my marriage and send Marcus back to Victoria. Marcus tried to grab them, but his hands were shaking too badly. I read along with him. 2 months ago, Patricia wrote to Victoria that Marcus seemed distant and sad, maybe the marriage wasn't working. Victoria asked if Patricia thought they still had a chance. Patricia said she hoped so, that Marcus probably regretted choosing the wrong woman. 3 weeks before Thanksgiving, Patricia texted Victoria that I seemed anxious and tired. Marcus had mentioned I was acting differently. Victoria asked if our marriage was failing. Patricia wrote back that she hoped so Marcus could fix his mistake. The messages after Thanksgiving were even worse. Patricia told Victoria I'd announced my pregnancy at dinner and stormed out. She wrote, "This changes everything. The baby will trap Marcus with her forever. Victoria asked for help, and Patricia told her to get pregnant. That a baby would force Marcus to choose. That it would show him he still loved Victoria. Victoria hesitated, but Patricia pushed. Desperate times call for desperate measures. Sometimes you have to fight for what you want. A week later, Victoria asked Patricia if she really thought claiming pregnancy would work. Linda said yes, it would end our marriage. Victoria would finally get Marcus back. The final message was 2 days old. Victoria telling Patricia she was ready to announce she was pregnant with Marcus's baby. Patricia replied with heart emojis and promised to help make everyone believe it. I stood up because I needed to move or I was going to scream. Marcus was frozen, staring at the last page. Richard looked up, eyes red from crying. He said he'd confronted Patricia last night after seeing these messages. She'd broken down, saying she just wanted Victoria to be happy, that she'd treated her like a daughter. Richard told her that her obsession with Victoria had destroyed their relationship. He said he might divorce her if she didn't get serious professional help. As I sat back down, my legs wouldn't support me anymore. Richard showed us more unpublished messages on his phone. Years of Patricia telling Victoria that Marcus married the wrong woman. That Victoria and Marcus were meant to be together. Feeding Victoria false hope for years. Marcus asked why Richard had called us about Victoria's pregnancy if he wasn't sure it was true. Richard's face crumpled. He said Patricia had been standing right there, coaching him on what to say. He never imagined his own wife could be this manipulative. The guilt had been eating him alive since he made that call. So there it was. The whole truth. Patricia had been systematically trying to destroy my marriage for years, all so she could push Marcus back to Victoria. The fake pregnancy was just the final, desperate move in a years-long campaign of manipulation. Victoria wasn't even pregnant. She just agreed to lie because Patricia convinced her it would work. And you know what? It almost did. If we hadn't demanded proof, if we just accepted Patricia's word, my marriage would be over right now. I'd be filing for divorce, believing my husband had cheated on me while I was pregnant with his child. Marcus made his decision that day. He told his dad he wouldn't see Patricia until she got serious professional help. Richard agreed. He said he didn't blame Marcus for cutting contact. 3 days later, Victoria sent Marcus an email confessing everything. She admitted she was never pregnant. She said Patricia had convinced her that Marcus was unhappy with me, that he talked about Victoria all the time, that he was just too committed to leave. Victoria actually wrote, "I never got over you. Seeing you with her made me realize what I'd lost. Patricia gave me hope for years that we could fix this." Marcus forwarded that email to his entire family with a message explaining Patricia's manipulation and Victoria's confession. Within minutes, his phone was buzzing with responses. Some family members apologized. Others made excuses for Patricia, saying she just wanted Marcus to be happy, or didn't expect Victoria to go this far. Marcus blocked everyone who defended Patricia. By the end of the week, he'd cut off his aunt, 2 cousins, and several other relatives. The family split into factions. Some quietly supported us. Others stood by Patricia. Marcus blocked the non-supporters and his phone got quieter and quieter until only a few family members could reach him. At my 16-week appointment, my blood pressure was dangerously high. The obstetrician put me on modified bed rest. She said high blood pressure during pregnancy could have serious consequences. I needed to reduce stress or I could lose the baby. I cried in that exam room because Patricia's manipulation was now threatening my daughter's life. Marcus took a week off work. He did everything: cooking, cleaning, laundry. He wouldn't let me do anything but rest on the couch. He blocked family calls immediately if they kept trying. A week into my bed rest, Richard called. He'd filed for divorce from Patricia that morning. He said watching her destroy Marcus's marriage was the last thing he could accept. 2 hours later, Patricia called Marcus, crying hysterically. She was begging him to tell Richard she didn't mean for things to go this far with Victoria. Marcus calmly told her she damaged her own marriage by choosing Victoria over her family for years. He said she needed professional therapy, but he was done enabling her while she refused to take responsibility. Patricia screamed that I'd turned him against her, that he never would have abandoned his mother before meeting me. Marcus hung up. The next morning, Victoria's lawyer sent us a letter threatening to sue for defamation over Marcus's email to the family. They claimed sharing private information had damaged Victoria's reputation. Our lawyer David responded immediately, pointing out Victoria's written confession. He said we'd countersue for emotional distress, harassment, and my medical expenses from pregnancy complications caused by her manipulation. 3 days later, David called. Victoria's lawyer had dropped the defamation threat. A week after that, Marcus's brother Tyler texted saying Victoria had moved out of state. She was too stressed by the backlash, and Patricia's support wasn't worth the public shame anymore. We were relieved she was gone. Over the next few weeks, I went to therapy to deal with my anger at Marcus for enabling his mother for so long. Our therapist helped us work through it together. Marcus wrote Patricia a letter setting boundaries. He offered limited, supervised contact if she completed 6 months of certified professional therapy. He sent it with delivery confirmation. Patricia's response, 10 days later, was 3 pages of vicious accusations. She blamed me for turning Marcus against her. Said she'd never apologize for loving Victoria like a daughter. The letter said Marcus was betraying his family by choosing me over his mother. Marcus filed it away in case we needed a restraining order. At my 20-week checkup, my blood pressure was finally normal. The obstetrician said the baby was healthy and developing perfectly. I cried happy tears. We slowly built a relationship with Richard without Patricia's influence. He came to Sunday dinners, brought baby gifts, asked thoughtful questions about our parenting plans. For our gender reveal party, Sarah and James came early to help decorate. Emma flew in with a massive gift basket. Richard and Tyler were both excited. We used a powder cannon. When Marcus and I pulled the rope, pink powder exploded everywhere. Marcus cried and hugged me. Richard held him, promising he'd be there to help him be a good father. I watched Marcus laugh with his dad and brother, planning tea parties and hair braiding for his daughter. And I was so grateful we'd survived Patricia's attempts to destroy us. We went to David's office and updated all our legal documents. Marcus removed Patricia's name from everything: emergency contacts, medical directives, his will. He added language that barred Patricia from custody or guardianship of our daughter. At 38 weeks, my water broke at 2 a.m. Marcus was everything I needed during labor: calm, supportive, focused on me through every contraction. After 14 hours, our daughter was born. 7 pounds, 2 ounces, perfectly healthy. When the nurse placed her on my chest, I sobbed. Marcus held her for the first time with trembling hands and tears streaming down his face. An hour later, Richard came in carrying a pink teddy bear. I let him hold our daughter, and he whispered promises into her tiny hand that he'd protect her from the manipulation he'd failed to protect Marcus from. Our daughter is 3 months old now. She's healthy, sleeping better, developing quickly. And Marcus is the father I always knew he could be. Our marriage is stronger than it was before this nightmare. Tyler checks in every couple weeks. He says Patricia is still in therapy but hasn't changed much. She still mentions Victoria sometimes. She still blames me for everything. One night, while watching our daughter sleep, Marcus said he was glad this happened before she was born. He promised she'd grow up in a family without manipulation, with real boundaries and healthy relationships. And I know he's right. We turned something horrible into becoming better parents and better partners. So yeah, that's my story. My mother-in-law chose my husband's ex's fake pregnancy over me. But instead of letting it destroy us, we turned the whole table around. We cut out the toxicity, set real boundaries, and built the family we actually wanted. If you made it this far, thank you for listening. Please hit that subscribe button and the notification bell because I'll be sharing updates if anything else happens. Drop a comment and let me know what you would have done in my situation. And share this with anyone who needs to hear that sometimes, cutting off toxic family is the healthiest choice you can make. Until next time, this is Reddit Family Stories, reminding you that you don't owe anyone access to your life, not even family. Take care of yourselves out there.